Whether you want to cover your world in flowers or get tons and tons of dye, let's build a super simple, crazy fast flower farm. This will work with any of the one tall flowers that you can bone meal, but all of these flowers can only spread to grass. Aside from spreading on grass, another good thing to know about flowers in Bedrock is that if you bone meal a flower that is in a hole, you will get a ton of flowers for whatever reason. So even if you're farming flowers by hand, it's always good to bone meal one that's in a hole. Per stack of bone meal used, you will receive over 11.5 stacks of flowers. And it will use a stack of bone meal in just 19 seconds. That means that per minute, you will receive over 2,200 flowers. We also have these centermost pistons right here, which are optional. If you don't use those 6 pistons, you will only receive 1 stack less per stack of bone meal. So 10.5 stacks compared to 11.5, if you want to save on some materials. The funny thing is that even without the pistons, with the 10.5 stack rate, if you compost all of the flowers, you'll receive more bone meal than you put in. Now, it's not much, so this isn't a bone meal farm, but you could compost all of the extra flowers to break even, so that you never actually have to spend any bone meal to get your flowers. Now, I experimented with a bunch of different things, such as automated collection, but I came to the conclusion that it's just not worth it. For one, we still have to load the bone meal directly into the dispenser because there's no room for hoppers, but the automated collection gets complex very quickly. Like, this doesn't even have a fully AFK mode. It's just an auto collection for when you turn the lever off, and the redstone is already getting complicated. Not only that, but the water will convert some of the grass into dirt, which will in turn lower the rates. But even if we used a hopper minecart system to collect, this is producing over 2,200 flowers per minute. So there's just, it would be complex for our storage system to be able to handle rates like that. Plus, it's going to use 9 stacks of bone meal in under 3 minutes. So I would recommend just collecting the drops by hand. That takes all of 5 seconds for you to pick up thousands of flowers. We could also build a multi-flower farm that has between 2 and 12 different flowers that are being bone mealed at the same time. Now, we aren't going to build this one in this video, but I wanted to let you know that it exists. I'll probably be uploading this next, so that you can pick which flower farm is right for you. Now, the rates on this for the 12 flower version will be about 50% of the single flower version. You'll get 5.5 stacks of flowers per stack of bone meal. But you are getting 12 different flowers, which saves time for you having to switch flowers out on the single flower version. So really, you're just trading bone meal efficiency for time. You're gaining time, but losing bone meal efficiency. The fewer flowers that you have in the multi-flower farm, the closer the rates are to the single flower version. Like, just using 2 flowers is almost exactly the same as the single flower design, giving you 10.5 stacks of flowers per stack of meal. It is all totally up to you and what you want, but we're going to build the single flower farm right now. The build area is going to be 9 by 11. If you're building this flat on the ground on top of grassland, that's totally fine. Our grass platform needs to be 8 by 7. But if all of this was grass, that would work totally fine. This smooth stone could be grass or anything. But if you're building this up in the air, like on a sky farm, we need to build the 7 by 8 grass platform, and we're going to have 2 blocks worth of stuff underneath it. And in that case, the smooth stone that you see could be air. It doesn't even have to be blocks. Just the grass platform needs to be 7 by 8 where you see here. We're going to start off on the right side by digging out that row. Then on the next row, we're going to place 2 groups of 3 pistons with a solid block in between them, like so. Then on this other side, we're going to place another 6 pistons in the exact same way. So 4 groups of 3 with a solid block in between them. Now aligned with the center, 3 grass blocks from the trench, we're going to poke out that grass. So there will be 4 grass blocks to the left of that hole and 3 grass on the other 3 sides. And we're going to dig down 2 more blocks. So this hole is 3 blocks deep. Then we're going to place 2 temporary blocks next to that hole, and we're going to dig under the farm until we get to that hole. So we're going to dig down 3, and then just dig over until we find our hole. Now next to the top temporary block, we need an observer that is looking up, and then a dispenser that is pointed down. Make sure that is a dispenser, not a dropper. Then we're going to poke out that block and place a bucket of water in that hole, so that we can place dirt that is plugging the top hole directly next to that water, so that we can hoe the dirt that we just placed and turn it into farmland. The water next to that dirt will give the farmland persistence, but the farmland will create that little gap in between the blocks that we can aim through, allowing us to plant a flower directly under the dispenser, as well as break and replace the flower with different ones. But now we need to surround our grass platform in any sort of blocks, starting next to where the trench is. Then above the trench, we want to place glass, because the glass won't convert the grass as it gets pushed under it. Next to the observer, we want pistons pointed down, if we want to include these pistons. Again, these are optional and will just slightly improve the rates. If you want to save on some materials and not use those pistons, just use solid blocks instead. So you'll have 3 blocks on each side of the observer. But now we need to place a repeater on top of the observer facing toward the trench on a 2-tick delay. So poke it 1 time. Then place 2 solid blocks in front of and above that repeater with a torch on the side of the top one, and then dust on top of all of these blocks or pistons, whichever you used. Now we need to place a lever on that block and turn that lever on to turn off the clock. Now we want to run dust down to the tops of those pistons. So a dust on the glass, and then just connect the dust over to the top of the pistons. Then on this other side, we're going to do the same thing, except we can go up by a block right here, so that we have a little doorway. It just makes it a little easier to collect the flowers once you're done using the farm. But if you don't want that doorway and you just want to jump up on the edge, that would be fine. We just need to run dust to the tops of the blocks that have the pistons underneath them. And that's it. So now we can just load bone meal directly into this dispenser down here, then just turn the lever on to convert all of that bone meal into flowers. And if we want to change what flower we are growing, we just come down here to this farmland and then break and replace the flower with whatever we want to farm. Now with any sort of farm that has a moving platform, we want the platform to be moving at the same rate. But like where you see here, some of the pistons are firing at different times, causing the grass platform to move inconsistently. This is because of locationality, which is when redstone functions differently solely because of location. It's a rare occurrence, but it happens. So if luck is not on your side and you notice that your platform is inconsistent, just build it somewhere else. But there are other ways that we can compensate if we don't want to move the platform, as well as compensate for world lag. If the rates are not as they should be, first we can try to increase the delay on that repeater and see if that makes the rates go back to what it should be, what we mentioned at the beginning of the video. But if that doesn't work, we can change the timings of the activations by adding a second observer facing up above the original one, then breaking this stuff out, and adding a repeater on top of the new observer on a max delay, going into a solid block with dust underneath it, then a solid block next to that with dust on top, and a lever on the side of this block to act as our on-off lever. Then a block above the repeater with a torch on it, and a block down here with dust on top, and then finally dust on top of this other block right here. This will change the timings of the machine so it's less precise, or it requires less precision. So that should compensate for locationality or for severe cases of world lag. Just if you ever notice that your rates are lower than what they should be, try that out. Because the original design of this farm is super fast and requires precision. It should work even with world lag. But if you ever notice that you're getting less than 10.5 stacks of flowers per stack of bone meal, first tweak the timing on that repeater to see if that compensates for the lag. And if that doesn't work, go ahead and add that extra stuff to change when the dispenser is firing. Having that second observer will cause the dispenser to fire just a little bit later, which should compensate for any sort of nonsense. But that's all we got for this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to like, favorite, share, and subscribe. Always remember that you are totally awesome, but above all, don't forget to have fun. Bye-bye.